So
Right.
this
Too
restaurant,
many.
they get it. They know, listen, we need to have fusion. I mean, this is bold, this is new, but we also need to have something steak and eggs for people.
Okay. Okay. Now, I mean, I feel you on what you're saying, and this is why Howard calls it Cleveland, because it is a place that makes no sense. And there was a long, long period of my life when I would say Cleveland when talking about Cleveland, even when I went to school in Ohio for 4 years. I'm going to tell you that right now. And the best line in the movie is when he goes, if I had some place to go, I wouldn't be in Cleveland. Okay? That is hilarious. All right?
Mine is,
This is
I got
so
whiplash.
There are so many great lines in this movie. Run, Howard. He's in a bad mood. You know? I'm telling you, man, I can appreciate from what you're telling me that this is not this is not a movie that you're into. And I get it, brother. But, I still love you up, down, left, right, BA, start. You're my man, 50 grand.
I love this movie. What do you mean? I just think it's
I don't know,
bonkers.
man. I don't know.
I-
It is bonkers.
It's okay.
It is.
I 100% get what you're saying about the comic book, because you need to have, if that's what the life is, that's how Howard the Duck was popular. But when you put it
That's
on
it, man.
screen,
Right.
this doesn't play like a Friday or Dazed and Confused or Everybody
Right.
Wants Some, just a hangout
Right.
picture, as I call it.
Right.
And then it also wants to be a summer blockbuster.
Right.
And then it also wants to be a kind of punk movie where he has a side plot about becoming a manager that never comes back again. And it's
Right.
just,
And it also wants to be a raunchy 80s sex comedy
it's,
for like the first 30 minutes.
and so I don't know if so that's what makes this movie so endearing. And that's why so many people write about it, because it is all over the place. It has a bunch of different plot lines. Jeffrey Jones said that crews would get fired on a regular basis, and it was not necessarily because they weren't doing well. He said people had to get fired because there had to be a reason that we weren't making the progress that people should have been making. So this,
Because the movie has no tone, you're fired.
it got really far behind with the duck, and people were talking about working on it. And I do think that the director, and I think the director just got in over his head on this. I think Willard, as a first-time director, or major film coming out, to be handed, like a major film, to be handed this with a animatronic duck that, frankly, I know the costume designers are proud of it. And I think all the work they did in regards to the motorization of the lips. Also, this is the movie that they actually were able to paint out the wires that pulled his.
It was the first movie.
Exactly,
correct.
yeah. And like Matrix and all these movies use
Correct.
that.
The first movie that, using those big ass wires to float the couch along, used computers to take it out. It was the first movie because ILM, baby.
And
Scrooge
listen,
McDuck.
I love Dark Overlord at the end. I think that monster looks
It's awesome.
wonderful.
It's awesome.
It's beautiful. All
It's
I'm
awesome.
saying is this movie just, you could tell it suffered from behind the scenes issues, because there's really no,
There's no consistent.
Yeah.
The consistency of the tone. I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
The tone consistency in this movie, it's all over the place. Is it a sex romp? Is it a movie about flying? Is it a sci-fi comedy? Is it a will they, won't they type of picture? I get you.
And there's no urgency in the beginning, but
None.
then all of
None.
a sudden there's urgency.
Right.
But I think
Right.
this is going to sound weird, but I think the people tried to make the best movie possible. And I do think the duck was a big issue in regards to time, because the duck took a lot of time. And I think the idea to cast a 12-year-old child to be in that suit with the child labor laws.
Child
Because
slavery. Absolutely.
a child can only be on set for a certain amount of time. So you're already taking up a lot of time putting it in the suit and out of the suit, and the bathroom breaks, and the child needs their lessons. They need to be taught. So you're already setting yourself back hours a day.
True.
So
this is true.
There are decisions in this movie that I think some had to be made on the fly. Sometimes the duck didn't work. Leah Thompson just said, "Just shoot the back of its head. Let's go. Come on." She said that. It was hilarious. And
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I just think that listen, I think very fondly of this movie, and if the people were just hating on it, being mean, I would defend it for till my last days. But I do think it's such a cult classic because of its mishmash of tones and Howard being bonkers and just the sheer innuendo of it all and the love spa, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of 80s sex com in the beginning, absolutely.
And so it's just not one movie, but it also has a really cool ending, and they built some huge sets. Does. I mean, that set at the end is gigantic, and I think it looks cool. And once I said, and this isn't insulting either. Every actor is worked in this movie. They flop sweated for this picture, and you can tell everybody behind the scenes was working as hard as they could. I just think it needed something. It needed more urgency in the beginning. Bring the Dark Overlord in the beginning, so then they have to hunt the Dark Overlord down.
Perhaps. It's the biggest problem with Howard the Duck in that there is no iconic comic book moment for Howard the Duck. So we know that Superman dies. That's iconic. We know that Lex Luthor is Superman's biggest villain. That's iconic. We know that Batman and the Joker, they are two iconic villains. We know that at some point, the Joker literally uses a crowbar to beat Robin to death and then blows him up. That's something that's never really been in a movie, other than kind of hinted at in the Snyderverse, right? Yeah. We know that with Spider-Man, at one point, the Green Goblin is going to take Gwen Stacy and just toss her off the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yep.
And she's going to die. We know about the spider bite. We know about the killing of Batman's parents. We know about the rocket ship from Krypton. Howard the Duck just kind of ends up on Earth because of the nexus of realities that was supposed to be guarded by the Man-Thing. The Man-Thing is the Marvel version of the Swamp Thing for DC, even though Man-Thing technically came out first, but like by a couple of months or something.
Like Slade Wilson and Wade Wilson?
Yeah, exactly. Like the way how Deadpool's costume is basically Spider-Man's costume, just with Deadpool. The eyes are the same, that kind of thing. That kind of thing goes on in comics, and, Man-Thing, if you know fear, those who know fear burn by the touch of Man-Thing. And then suddenly Howard the Duck comes wandering out of this comic book. I swear to you. The comic book was called Adventures of Fear, I think issue number 19. And that's the first issue that Howard the Duck is seen in the Marvel Universe. And then after that, Howard the Duck just gets his own series. And the first issue of Howard the Duck, what's going on there? Howard the Duck, like it says on the cover, because you demanded it. The fabulous first issue of Marvel's most sensational superstar. Against sword and sorcery, Howard stands side by side with the Amazing Spider-Man. Because, of course, Spider-Man's on it. Hey, somebody might buy this comic book. All right? So Howard there's no through line, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. There's nothing going on with Howard. What's Howard's iconic thing? He sleeps in a bed with a hot chick from Cleveland who's trying to be a model, Does he hook up with her? Maybe. I don't know. It's not really clear. So Howard the Duck is supposed to be a satire character. He does parodies of things. He does parodies of Spider-Man. He does parodies of Superman, of Batman, forged in the flames of frenzy, the most unwilling warrior of all, Iron Duck. He's supposed to be Iron Man, except he's dressed up in a fire hydrant instead of a suit of armor.
Wow. Oh, got it.
His most famous character is Dr. Bong. Dr. Bong is a guy who has a bell for a head, and his left hand is the thing that rings the bell, a bell end, as our British friends would say.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what it came from was he just showed up, and then he was a spoof.
Exactly.
And then you have to develop a character for him. And wow.
Well, his character in the comic book is that he's just basically an asshole.
Got it. And then this one, they try to make him endearing, but he's not endearing. He's more.
Right.
I would rather deal with. I have a question, Norbert. Sorry to interrupt you again.
No, break it down.
Would
Go
you
for it.
rather have a complete asshole of a character or one like Howard?
Well, this is the question that we will never have answered.
Mhm.
What if they made Howard not likable? Because Steve Gerber was going for that in the comics, and by the way, Steve Gerber died. God bless the dead. If you get down with that, he died pulmonary something. Bad way to go. But he did get a chance to redo Howard in Marvel Max. It used to be on Marvel Unlimited for you to read, but now it's gone. I was trying to read that because it was really good. But anyway. Yeah, so Howard, if he was a super jerk, okay, it ends up being problematic because how does Beverly still like this dude?
Mhm.
He's not only is he not human, okay, but now he's an asshole duck, trapped in a world in which he never made. That can't be it. And so this is the problem. This is the beginning of the problem with the tone shifts in this movie. We can't make We can't make ass. We can't make Howard into a total jerk because then Leah Thompson and just oh my god, prime Leah Thompson. Oh. Anyway, we cannot make prime Leah Thompson a believable person if this duck is just treating her like crap all the time and just being mean and snarky. So they tone it down, and what ends up happening is Howard is just he's lovable, he's sarcastic. He's not about eating eggs.
Mhm.
That's not his thing because, he comes from an egg. But yeah, this is the thing. This is and I totally agree with what you're saying. But this movie is watchable because it is the train wreck.
Yeah.
That you're watching.
And
It is the cars colliding.
I want to defend it a little bit too. Gloria
Go
Katz
for
said we didn't have enough time. She said you wait for these executives to read the script, and every week that goes by will cost more in the long run. So we were finally given a go in May of '85, and the duck had not been built. We had to start shooting in October for a summer release. It was very tight schedule for that kind of production. So they had to, okay, you're shooting in October, and then you have to get released in the summer. So you're planning for a summer release. That is not a lot of time. That's next to nothing time right there. And so all these people were looking at the script, analyzing every word of it, because George Lucas had the power to get this done, but it was also Howard the Duck. So then they kept getting delayed. Then if your script keeps changing, you can't buy sets, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I feel for it, right? Because they didn't have that much time to get this done, and it did receive August release, but that's still not a lot of time to shoot, edit, promote, and release. Yeah, and then the duck couldn't get decided on. The duck looked they kept having to change the look of the duck. Like nope. So finally they got this duck that looked nothing like Howard the Duck. Correct? Does this duck look like Howard the Duck from the comic?
Well, the problem is Howard the Duck in the comics is basically just Donald Duck in a different color.
Yeah. Exactly.
And eventually Disney told him, "Hey buddy, let's talk about this Howard the Duck guy." Even though it's the 1970s, we're still Disney. You will pay a terrible price if you don't change what he looks like.
So they had that originally, and then they kept changing it until they came up with what they have now. That wasn't what they wanted. So everything was just rushed. I really do think everything was rushed. And I heard
I'm sure it was.
Set days, I think everybody was working hard, but it's just so I do feel for this picture. Now it had a lot of money, but money doesn't matter when your duck doesn't work. It doesn't matter when your script isn't finished. It doesn't matter when it's been rewritten and you have to go shoot with the first time director. So it's just
and again, that all comes from usually, as we've seen in comic book pictures, they would just take something iconic from the comic books, even Blade, It's not that Blade was a super. It's not that Blade was a super popular character when Blade 1 came out, but you get that character of Deacon Frost who was in the comic books, and he was a dark dude. Right? So with Howard, all you have is, like you keep saying, this duck that doesn't work. When the duck is on screen, all right, This is one of those things that today would be totally CGI, like that movie Paul.